Okay, so the next section is a section on fractions, which is everyone's favorite. Nonetheless, very important to be comfortable and familiar with fractions. So what is a fraction? So the basic format of a fraction is this. We've got a numerator over a denominator. So you've got a horizontal line with a number or an expression up above and a number or an expression down below. And so the number or expression above is the numerator, and the number or expression at the bottom is called the denominator. The way that you can interpret a fraction is that the numerator is being divided by the denominator. So there's many different types of fractions. That shouldn't be happening with my lettering. Let's erase that, get it out of the way. Okay. So types of fractions. So the first type is just a simple fraction. So a simple fraction is where the numerator and the denominator are both integers. So I've got some examples here of a simple fraction. Now we have a fraction called a proper fraction. So a proper fraction is where the numerator is less than the denominator. So the number on top is less than the number on bottom. And so, I've got all these different examples of proper fractions. An improper fraction is where the numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. So the numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. So 7/3, 7 is greater than 3. 3/3 is where the numerator and the denominator are the same. This is an improper fraction, and we have -13/9. Now, typically, sometimes improper fractions are okay. A lot of the times they can be okay, but sometimes you need to convert an improper fraction into a mixed number fraction. We'll get to that in a second. Next, we have a simplified fraction. So this is where the numerator and the denominator are integers with a greatest common factor of only 1. So what this means is that the numerator and the denominator have no prime numbers in common. So, oops, I'm sorry about that. So here the numerator and denominator have no prime factors in common. If they did, then you could cancel them out. For example, probably the simplest example would be if we had 4/6. Okay. Now 4/6 is a proper fraction, but it's not simplified. We could write 4 as 2 times 2, and we can write 6 as 2 times 3. So notice that 4 and 6 each have 2 as a factor. And so what you can do to simplify it is to cancel one factor of 2 in 4 with another factor of 2 with 6. And so by canceling those, you're left with 2/3. So 2/3 is a simplified fraction of 4/6. If you put in your calculator 4 divided by 6, you'll get the same answer as if you did 2 divided by 3, because 2/3 is just simplified. It doesn't change the actual value of that ratio of numerator to denominator. All right, next we have a mixed number. So a mixed number is a combination of an integer and a proper fraction. So I mentioned earlier that improper means that the numerator is greater than the denominator. So for example, if we we had 7/3 previously, and you would kind of say, well, this is the same as saying 7 divided by 3. How many times does 3 go into 7? It goes twice, and you have a remainder of 1. So 7/3 is going to be equal to 2 and 1/3. So here, the 2 is this 2. The remainder of 1 is here. And the divisor of 3 is there. So that's how you convert an improper fraction into a mixed number fraction. A unit fraction is where the numerator is 1. So I've got some examples here of unit fractions: 1/3, 1/7, 1/9, 1/8, and so on. A complex fraction is where the numerator and or the denominator are also fractions. So it's a fraction of fractions. So here is where this one here is where both the numerator and the denominator are both fractions. Here's an example of where just the numerator is a fraction. And here's an example where just the denominator is a fraction. So these are all examples of complex fractions. And then we have similar fractions. So 2 or more simple fractions with equal denominators. So the number on the bottom is all the same. You'd need to have similar fractions in order to add or subtract fractions. And we'll get into that later. Integers can be represented as fractions, a fraction where the denominator is 1. So for example, if we had the integer 3, we can rewrite it as 3/1. And this has some uses that we'll get into. The integer 7 can be written as 7 divided by 1. Or you can write the integer -9 as either -9 over +1 or +9 over -1. Another operation or way that you can manipulate a fraction is called a reciprocal. And so a reciprocal is where the fraction that results by switching the numerator and denominator. So you switch the numerator and denominator. So if you have 3, remember in the previous step, we can write that as 3/1. Now take the reciprocal of that, switch numerator and denominator, and what do you get? You get 1/3. So the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. And likewise, if we started with 1/7 and we take the reciprocal, we switch numerator and denominator, that would give us 7/1. And we can write 7/1 as just 7. And so the reciprocal of 1/7 is just 7. Okay. Reciprocal is something that we're going to see also later in this course.